Great. Well, good morning from the West Coast. I'm here to give the haiku update as part of the tech updates, and I have the wrong day on that. Very quickly, just because there's always some newcomers here, a quick introduction to what is haiku. Most of you probably know this at this point, but we have the Samvera components, and Julie just explained how Hyrax creates a Rails application, sits on a Rails application. Hyku takes that and turns it into a little bit more of a turnkey bundle. So if you deploy a Hyku application, you have a lot of fully featured elements for your repository right out of the box. Some things that Hyku and Hyrax both have are common elements: robust faceted search and browse, ability to submit new items and leases and embargoes. And then some things that are unique to Hyku are multi-tenancy, which we talk about a lot. That's the ability for a lot of discrete repositories in one instance of the software. There are some additional pre-built work types, pre-installed bulk import export, more out-of-the-box theming options, and some other things with Hyku. General updates on Hyku today, going on in the community-wise. The Hyku interest group meets once a month, the last Thursday of each month. A little more information on that later. We get pilot updates from the active projects in the community. Right now, that tends to be Pawnee Policy's Hyku for Consortia, the Advancing Hyku Project, British Library, University of Louisville, Washington University, and the Adventist Digital Library. We talk about the roadmap. So it's an opportunity for us to align about features and make sure that other projects know what's coming down the pipeline. And we give release updates and technical updates from our new monthly Hyku developers call. And it's a great place to welcome newcomers. Some people come and don't say anything, they just listen. And like everything in this community, we're very welcoming. So you shouldn't be afraid to come and ask questions. Hyku 3.02 is the current release. We had some new features in 3.0, including DOI minting, cross-tenant search is coming. Theming updates from Hyku for Consortia are now in Hyku. That includes the 3 templates that you can choose from the admin side. You don't need a developer to deploy them. So you've got a cultural repository theme, a institutional repository, and a new neutral one. Those give all different UIs instead of just the out-of-the-box Hyku experience. ORCID integration is also down, and we just saw a preview of that yesterday from Elisa Barrett and Paul Daniele at Ubiquity as part of our lightning talk. So that was a great preview. Our Hyku roadmap can be found at this link, and our developer calls occur once a month. The second Thursday of each month. And that's something that we've started just the past few months and has given the more technical developer side a chance to collaborate a little bit more and get aligned on some technical troubleshooting and other features that they can bring to Hyku. The next release plan will be 4.0. There'll be deployment updates here. So we've overhauled the way that local development and deployment is done and improved some settings and environment variables to better align with Hyrax. Bulk racks is the bulk import export gem that's attached to Hyku, and that has some ongoing work right now. Nanchade is working with GBH, as well as University of California, Santa Cruz, and soon University of Louisville. And each time we work with a new client and a new project, it just makes the tool even more robust. It's an easy to use interface that you're able to edit, create, run, and delete and rerun imports of bulk. And there's always new formats that it's compatible with, including those on this list. A couple major grant projects around Hyku that we hear a bit about in the community. So I'll highlight those here. The Advancing Hyku project is a collaboration between the Arcadia Charitable Fund, British Library, University of Virginia, and Ubiquity Press. And just some high-level updates because they'll be talking a little bit later today in a panel. But there's continued progress on shared search layer and auto-population of content. They update their blog regularly about code contributions. So there's a link at advancinghyku.io. They have been the leaders in consolidating our roadmap board. We use their model, and I really thank Ilkay Holt for introducing that and bringing that to us. But now if you go to the Hyku project board, you'll see everything that's kind of in the pipeline across all the major Hyku projects. And that's improved visibility, collaboration, and stewardship. And additionally, the advent of those Hyku developer calls has helped advance that. Another grant project is Hyku for Consortia with Palni and Palsy and nanchade. Palni and Palsy is a multi-tenant platform for production use and piloting across 4 different library consortia. Currently, there are 10 tenants in production and 14 in a pilot or test mode. We've recently implemented theme templates, updates to groups and permissions, and new work types for OER and ETD. They are just finishing out an IMLS grant phase, the initial one, and they have been awarded a new 2-year IMLS grant, Hyku for Consortia, Removing Barriers to Adoption. Again, you'll hear from them a little later today in the panel, but high level preview there is that that'll be 2 years of work organized around generous user testing and feedback with research, review, and analysis in order to create the requirements for the work that will go into that grant. Their goal is to develop a toolkit for consortial collaboration around repositories. During the initial research phases of the grant, and they're doing some small projects with nanchade currently for some UI enhancements and other tweaks. They've begun a regular schedule of data benchmarking and user satisfaction surveys in order to inform that grant. And I mentioned a little earlier, those theming templates are out. So here's just a quick visual of what that standard Hyku homepage can turn into with just a few tweaks in the admin dashboard. Other projects in development, and we hear about these monthly in the Hyku interest group call. We've got University of Louisville, who is working on their own Hyku application for cultural heritage content. Currently, their progress is that they've completed setup of work types, metadata, search, and record display. They're progressing with upload of heterogeneous primary resource materials, which are exported from Content DM onto their Hyku production server. They're beginning work on enhancing front-end design and uploading complex compound objects. And they're in the planning phase of designing a user assessment focus group. Ubiquity Press is working on some things themselves. They're continuing to integrate other Ubiquity products with their Hyku platform. They offer the Ubiquity repository service. Migrations with them are underway from several platforms, including bpress, tspace, and SobXCM. And they've developed 2 big Hyku features recently through advancing Hyku, the ORCID integration that we've mentioned, and the cross-tenant search. nanchade is now working with British Library and CoSector of the University of London on the shared research repository. They've moved from their initial Hyku application to a new one. At this point, it's a shared repository of now 7 separate tenant repos. And it features the use of bulk racks for bulk import and export, which is new to their application. The new application is live at iro.bl.uk, but there is additional work on application parity to get it to where they want it to be and where it previously was. So auto population of content from DOI is in progress. Data site integration for DOI creation is coming across the line, and the cross-tenant search is the next big thing that we'll be seeing in the repository. The Adventist Digital Library is a project with Andrews University and nanchade, providing access to Seventh-day Adventist historical and theological materials. That's a collaborative repository across Andrews University and some other colleges. They're migrating from an Islandora application, undergoing migration work now as the application is up. It's dual tenant, so it takes advantage of the multi-tenancy in Hyku. And we're preparing for some additional work before it goes live and ready for the public. nanchade is finishing out work with the Numismatic Portal. Some new work to that has included book reader for searchable, flippable PDFs and refining OCR and content ingest workflow. This is an application for a numismatic special collection with Washington University of St. Louis. And highlighting hosted Hyku service solutions, Ubiquity has UPress that you haiku-repo.io, and you can learn about Nanchade's Haiku Up at haikuup.com. I know both Ubiquity and Nanchade are happy to give demos and set up new repositories for people to take a look at and have some exploratory phone calls. So that's my update. Thanks for listening. Please follow Hyku. Hyku.samvera.org is our informational site. I think it's having some technical issues right now, but stay tuned. I try to update that once in a while with presentations. But another great place to find Hyku work is on the Hyku YouTube channel, which I don't have a link to here for some reason, but should be easy to find if you look up Samvera Hyku YouTube. On Samvera Slack, we've got our own Hyku channel. So it's a great place for newcomers to ask questions and get some technical troubleshooting help. We do have our own Hyku Google group for important updates if you want to link in there. And you're welcome to join the interest group the last Thursday of each month. There's call-in information here. It's also on the Samvera wiki if you need to find it. And that developer call for the technically minded folks is the second Thursday of each month at 9 o'clock Pacific. Want to thank you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out at any time. Thanks, okay.
Thank you very much, Kevin.